Peace and blessings, everyone. This is the Future's Black podcast, and this is episode 42. I am your host, Nasi Gifted, and this is
Jojo Abanabi Wright.
And this is the Future's Black podcast, and this is episode 42 when we're talking about game changers, Black women rewriting the code of gaming. From character design to executive leadership, Black women are revolutionizing the gaming industry, but their stories remain untold. This episode spotlights the visionary developers, writers, and artists breaking barriers, crafting inclusive worlds, and building gaming's Afrofuturistic future. We have an exciting episode here this evening, and I'm super excited because I want to talk about the Black futures now. And when I talk about the Black futures now, we're going to get into the state of play, Black women in gaming today. So I want to give you stats. Less than 4% of game developers are Black women. You know, that's from IGDA. That's 2023. So that number may have gone up, but 4% of those game developers are Black women. And then when we talk about hidden figures, celebrating pioneers like Morel Tremanis, which is France's first Black woman game designer, Tanya DePaz, who's also the founder of I Need Diverse Games. And I want to start off with Morel Tremanis, who was born in 1958, is a French video game designer from Martinique, and she is known as the first Black woman video game designer. She has written and directed the adventure games Freedom, Rebels in the Darkness, Lost in Time, Urban Runners at Cocktail Vision, and she also co-created Goblins series with Pierre Garouz. Thomas was involved in the creation of the ADI range of school-age children and college students, and since 2003 has managed Avantelis, a specialist in real-time 3D applications for the web. So I wanted to highlight her and give her flowers, wanted to give her, her blessings for, not only, we like to talk about people who are doing the work. Right?
Yeah.
And highlight them for the work that they're doing. And then Tanya DePaz, born in 1973, also known as her username, Cypher Hero Fire, right, is an American journalist, activist, and streamer, and also is the founder of a nonprofit organization called I Need Diverse Games, which she established in 2016. Based on a call of action, she actually wrote an article in 2014 where DePaz used the hashtag I Need Diverse Games while responding to a statement from Ubisoft claiming that it would be feasible to animate Black female characters for the upcoming Assassin's Creed game. And DePaz has said that she was sick of games where I don't get to be the hero. That was her quote. She wanted to be the hero. And that's why we talk about like Afrofuturism and these narratives, because we want to be able to tell our story, but we get sick and tired of being sick and tired of not being able to see ourselves represented within these different platforms. If it's in animation, if it's in gaming, and if it's in film, any of these particular things, we want to see ourselves in these particular things. And that was one of her call to actions, which led her to develop a nonprofit around this and develop a whole community around female characters being within these gaming platforms and in these games. So I wanted to make sure we gave flowers to those two individuals for doing the work, Morel Tremanis and Tanya DePaz for doing the work, definitely for doing the work. And
Can I add one more?
Of course.
So Danielle Udagaranu, she did a collaboration with Electronic Arts.
Okay.
And why she's so important is that she recognized that we needed different 3D modeling to represent our skin as well as our hair textures. Mm-hmm. So she created over 100 skin tones, Afro-textured hairs, as well as nails to be used in Sims.
Yeah, because that is one of the things that water and hair is some of the hardest things to 3D model because of the texture, especially when we talk about melanated people. Mm-hmm. The textures is definitely something that they, don't get right generally. And even with AI actually has a problem with that nowadays as well. But they're getting better with hands and feet.
They're getting better with the actually having the right amount.
The right amount of hand. Fingers and toes, within it. I want to talk about Afrofuturism and game design in another segment, and how Black women are weaving African, cosmetologies, diaspora, folklore, and sci-fi into games. Where we have a game, Neo Berlin 2087, where you have a cyberpunk theme that is combined with an Afro-Caribbean spirituality, and that blend, when you're talking about Neo Berlin, like you don't even see that aspect that's actually in that, but that was actually woven into, this particular game. And then you got stuff like Tendril, which is a Black-led fantasy, which is a RBG, which is a role-playing game with Yoruba pantheon gods, right? So those things are being infused. And the thing about all of this stuff is that we gotta be intentional. We gotta make sure we showcase our greatness within these things, because we'll get the same old all the time if we don't, make sure we infuse this stuff. And that's why they talk about escapism, why escapism in gaming means freedom dreaming for Black players. When we talk about a $400 billion industry building, but, and us being consumers, but we want to be able to escape the reality of what's going on and the social ills that go on in the community. Not saying that is a solution, but it is a way to be able to deal with things. And when we talk about gaming, because we talk about gaming and we talk about the entertainment factor, but also there's learning tools and everything within the gamification of, educational platforms and stuff too. So, but that's another podcast.
No, we could talk about it a little bit now.
Okay.
Because someone you mentioned earlier, Muriel Tremise,
yes,
she has Remembrance, which is a game that you go through to learn about the Creole cultures. So that's so definitely relevant.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a cultural piece. It's a learning platform. It's edutainment, right? Because you're learning as you're being entertained at the same time. But I do love the concept of what they say, freedom dreaming.
I kept repeating that, dreaming.
Freedom dreaming. Like, that is super powerful, because, you taking gaming and then using it as a platform to speak the narratives, but also be able to create worlds that you would want to live in. That's the part of Afrofuturism that, we want to always kind of tie back in, building community, speaking to our own narrative, but also building worlds in the world that you actually want to live in. And that is the true form of, when we talk about Afrofuturism.
Pointing, I have Black Utopia down there somewhere.
Yes, you do. And I mean, all of that kind of ties into, all of this stuff. But when we talk about Black women in gaming, less than 4%, this is dominated by middle-aged white men. There is definitely some challenges and, some trials and tribulations that these individuals have to go through. So the fight for equity is something that we were talking about, and then the challenges and triumphs. So we got gatekeepers. There's gatekeepers in gaming studios. You want to be able to combat stereotypes that Black women only design urban games, where that's the only genre that they can, speak to and everything, that, they can't get into speculative, they can't get into horror, they can't get into sci-fi or any of these other things, because they don't have the lens or they don't have the perspective, to be able to get into that. Those are the things that gaming studios, with their misconceptions or their biases, kind of, pigeonhole people to kind of do the, they could get the Shanae and the Shaniquas, and all of that stuff. That's what they think, with the stereotypes. But we're the most creative people in the world. And when you talk about the Black woman who's creative civilization,
yes,
I can only imagine, given opportunity, because this is all about opportunity, being able to get to the table, to be able to have access. And then another thing that when we talk about, the fight for equity, we talk about funding disparities, how Black women developers are turning to Kickstarter, Black angel investors, to be able to fund their projects and everything, because of these gatekeepers and everything, they want to work for Ubisoft and, Unity and, and all of these other, well, Unity is actually just a gaming engine, but, Microsoft and,
Well, we have Sarah Bond.
Oh, Sarah Bond, okay.
Yes, VP. Sister.
Yeah, no, definitely. Those are the outliers.
We have a couple.
Those are some of the outliers and everything. I mean, it says 4%, so.
Yeah,
You know, so.
there's a really good producer as well. Yeah, so
Okay. Well, I mean,
it's
yeah,
a
no,
few.
we sure. Hey, say their name. We want to definitely spread those flowers. Let people know that there is some people out there that's doing the work, but there is definitely some changes and things that definitely needs to happen. But these crowdfunding platforms, angel investors, is how they are looking to get a lot of their projects off the ground because the funding for this, from animation to gaming, these are $1 million projects, $1 million+ and depending on the extent of the game that you're developing, it could be really, really expensive.
So I'm thinking back to the Web3 technology that we're talking about for the
Mm-hmm.
collaborative, building the community to go support something like that. This
Yep.
will be another opportunity to get involved, put that on the blockchain, the fundraising.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And then take
definitely.
that money, invest it otherwise, and build the game, and then the residuals will come back to those who originally invested
Yeah, I
it.
mean, yeah, and you
And
can
then keep
crowdfund and
growing
then
it.
be part investor
Yeah,
within
you end up
these
being an
particular
investor.
projects. That's
That's a
an
whole nother.
idea.
Yeah.
And then the more people, the more royalties that you will get because you are an early investor or an investor in general. You
Yeah.
know, and then also providing safe spaces, right? Initiatives
Mm.
like Black Girl Gamers, which was founded by J. Ann Lopez, and Code Coven, founded by Tara Mustafa, which has a mentorship program. These are things that are important in order to be able to do some of the work that's going on. But when we talk about the fight for equity, we need to make sure that these spaces are safe and these individuals are making sure they provide platforms in areas where young Black girls can feel safe within these gaming communities. Because I don't know if you remember when we were at ByteCon, but they were talking about discrimination and everything for the
Mm.
gamers and stuff like that in particular rooms.
Yeah.
The one thing that they liked that gaming actually provided was that it can be, you could live behind your avatar and you could be
Yeah.
genderless.
Yeah.
So now you don't face, certain prejudice and everything. But so everyone can have equity in that part. But when they do find out that you are a Black woman gamer, there are some stereotypes or biases that you do face, or bigotry that they were, speaking about that they were facing. And that's
That's so
something,
unfortunate.
right? Something that needs to be, more tightly regulated, within those particular spaces. So providing a safe space
Yeah, but
is
say
something
providing
that
your safe
we want to
space.
be able to do,
Yeah.
on all levels. I wanted to jump into JoJo's segment because
Oh,
I know
I'm
you.
doing a segment.
Oh
I
well.
could do one. I could
Oh
do
okay.
one.
You got a segment.
I'll do
I thought you
one.
had a segment. I'm
Black.
sorry because
I
I'm
could
always
do.
cutting you off, so I
I
don't want to cut you
know.
off no
That's why I
more.
was so surprised that you. Whew, let me take a moment. I need a moment for that one.
All right.
So
She's being very dramatic here, y'all.
So Black Tech Rewind. So
Okay.
we're talking about gaming. So I was looking for some gaming that existed,
Mm-hmm.
previously. So one of the games that I came across, it originated from ancient Africa. It's called Mancala.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't just a board game. It's a strategic puzzle where players move stones across a series of pits, planning their moves several steps ahead. The game emphasizes on resource management, forethought, and tactical counterplay. Sounds a lot like chess.
Mm-hmm.
But this beginning of how to do this gameplay, we see that in the modern digital strategy games that we have today. It incorporates the similar resource allocation mechanics, risk management, and planning processes that you would do like when you're doing a role play
Oh, okay.
in the different strategies. So whether you're building an empire in a simulation or planning your next maneuver in a turn-based strategy game, you're engaging with the design principles that trace back to Mancala's intuitive rules.
Oh no, that's
Yeah.
powerful. That is powerful. I mean, and that kind of goes into our next segment. We talk about press start. How to support the movement. How do we
Mm-hmm.
talk about supporting Black women game developers and everything. We want to be able to amplify Black women led games. And we're actually going to provide a list of games, 10. Black women develop games that you need to play now. We're going to provide that into the notes, the actual description. I'm sorry, the description of this particular podcast. You're going to see that. But we're going to kind of talk about that, like, they have a game called Hair Gnaw.
Hair Gnaw.
Hair Gnaw. So
Not there
Aronia.
now.
Yeah,
Hair
yeah.
Gnaw.
Hair Gnaw. Hair Gnaw. And then Aronia Legacy of Corey Odin. Those are just like some examples of the games. If you haven't played these games, take the opportunity to go and play these games that was led by these Black women developers and everything. Because we want to be able to demand diversity, but the only way we can make sure that we demand diversity in these particular games is you got to march with your dollars. It all comes down to the dollar and you being able to support these particular projects that's actually coming out. And you have to do that. I mean, that's my call to action is if you see it, I need you to support it. That's what we talk about. Go ahead,
and
JoJo.
so on the other side of that,
yes,
sometimes we need to move away from being consumers and being the makers
oh yeah,
of these
definitely.
games. So definitely increasing from 4%, we need to go up.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We need to go up on that.
No, definitely. We definitely need to be able to go up on that. And when we talk about like gaming journalism, awards, investors, all of that stuff needs to be embedded into what we're doing. But we need to teach, our Black girls, because I know we got girls that code, but we got to teach them coding.
Girls that game.
Yeah, girls that game.
That's what
we need 3D modelers. We need game writers. And we're gonna, we need all of these different elements to be able to, because there's so many different opportunities within gaming, from development side, from the story writing side, the voiceover, the music making, those are so many different opportunities within this industry.
Marketing.
Yeah, marketing. It's not just, the game developer, even though that is an essential part of it, but there are so many different layers. You can find your own lane, because if you're passionate about gaming, you spend hours and hours a day playing games. Think about the other side of it. How about making the game? That is my call to action for all of you individuals out there who are playing games for hours and hours a day. Your parents are like, what the heck are you doing with your time and you playing these games? I need you to go out there and I need you to create and innovate within this industry because as you can see, there's less than 4%. And if you might, like my daughter and my nieces and everyone else, these young Black girls and parents, get your young, your children into coding. Get them into coding because from that they can, branch off into so many different areas. I'm sorry, JoJo.
No,
you look like
that's
you wanted,
making
you was leaning in like you wanted to say something.
No, I have a son at home
Okay.
who was a gamer. In this conversation about getting your kids, I used to encourage my son to game.
Okay.
Because he was creating games.
Good.
As well, so it's a different dynamic.
Well, you're
now
a rarity, JoJo.
Where it's like we want our young ones to get into coding, but we still need to take a break from the computer every now and then. It's definitely good. Communities out there on Discord and other places, just be mindful of who you're talking to.
Yes.
You never know who's on the other end of it, so we still need some parental supervision.
So and we're not doing meetups. We're not doing meetups. You just talking to them through the
Yeah.
Just because you've been on a gaming platform with them for months don't mean you need to meet up with them.
Yeah, but we are having the game jam, right?
No. Yes, we are having a game jam.
Yes, where people can come out and
So those will be safe spaces when we talk about creating safe spaces. But I'm just talking about if you meet some random people in an online community and they telling you let's meet up. I don't advise that, per se. So, that's just from a safety issue and everything. But when you have reputable companies and everything that's actually doing things around gaming, hey, go with that. You want to be able to go where you are in the public eye of everything, not meeting in the secluded areas and stuff. So, I mean, I'm sorry. That's the father in me that's coming out.
I just saw a dark alley and someone walking down holding a controller.
Yeah. Talking about, bring your
VR goggles.
Yeah, bring your VR goggles, bring your Switch, and we're gonna play. Nah, we're not doing that. We we're keeping it online. Yeah, definitely be safe out there. So where do we see the next level of this? The gaming's Afrofuturistic future. Once again, AI tools come into the picture, to when we talk about preserving oral histories in RPG games and everything. the rise of Black-owned VR studios, building immersive, heritage experiences. And then there is always just like these different opportunities, to be able to, not only build but create spaces and experiences, within the gaming world. I mean, from education, there's military applications because everything that you are using equipment wise is always gamified. There's what they, used to be called simulations, but now it's just really a game that you immersed in, and now you have a whole VR experience that's, attached to it and everything. So you could be immersed into the whole thing. People don't just fly planes. They actually do a flight simulator first, and then they have to get a certain score. And then they actually, once they get certain hours on that, then they go into the actual flight simulator and stuff. That's a game. That's a game. They need somebody to be able to create that. And then somebody actually got to create the models. Somebody actually have to test it. Somebody has to do all of these different layers that comes into that. And that's where you come in, because that's an opportunity out there for you to grow and be a part of. And next time you're looking, and we actually have the resource for this on the PBS Steam website, where you could get all of the different career paths in gaming and animation and visual and special effects. We provide that for free. So that resource will actually be in the description too. We'll put the link in there. If there is a particular area and you want to try to find your way within gaming, definitely use this as a resource.
And leave us some comments on if you're not seeing something you're interested in, or you want us to go deeper.
Yeah, definitely.
Please leave it in the comments.
Yeah, any of these things. So we definitely want you to kind of go in. And with this, we're gonna talk about and I kind of leaned into this earlier, but we're gonna talk about 10 Black women made games to play right now. That's gonna be in the show notes, so make sure you look in the description, look at the link. We'll have that in the show note. From Sweetheart to Since You, Change the Game. There's a ton of games. We're going to give you 10, and we want you to do the research and find another 10, and then put those in the comments that you found and you played, and let us know what you think. Some of these games, they need your support, so we want to know what you think about these games, because your feedback will help them improve, the gameplay and everything that they're doing, with their particular projects. We don't want you to go out there and not play the game, and then if you don't like it, we just want you to give constructive feedback. We don't want you to tear nothing down. We want you to give constructive feedback so they can actually improve. We want you going there and telling everybody not to play the game. We want everyone to play the game, but also as creators and developers, they look to improve, their product.
Show us some love.
Yeah, definitely. Show us some love. We're out here giving the information, here on the Futures Black podcast. Tune in each and every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Like, share, and subscribe to the Futures Black podcast. The Futures Black podcast. Oh, and then JoJo, I got a bonus too.
Oh.
Yes. So I want to give the list of 10 Black women in game development, showcasing their diversity and talent within the industry. So we're going to present that as well. I don't know, do you want to read the list or anything, or do we want to just let them read it in the comments?
You could read it.
I could read it.
We can scroll it.
So we talked about two. We talked about Morel.
You can go back and forth.
Yeah. Okay. So we got Morel Temes. Then you have
Bria Sullivan.
Yep. And then we have Tanya DePass.
Latoya Peterson.
Taylor Poindexter.
Stephanie Eldridge.
And then we have Angie Jones.
Sophia Onjali.
And then we have Danny Lenladers. And
Anika Howard.
Yep. So those are some of the individuals that we wanted to highlight. If you never heard of these people, do your research. Look into them. See what they're doing. See the projects that they're working on. And if you're looking, we gave you 10, right? We told you it was only 4%, within this industry. We want you to be able to find the individuals that look like yourself, so you can inspire and go to want to, do something great within this particular industry. I know we talked about it earlier, and this gaming industry is a $400 billion industry. $400 billion.
It's just gonna grow.
And its
grow.
largest growth because of the online community and all of the different ways that you could be able to access gaming. You know, we're beyond the cartridge. You know, you guys don't know about Atari and Nintendo where you had to put it in the freezer and all this stuff to make sure it plays right. You know, all this stuff. You don't have to worry about any of that. You either download or you know,
click a button
or clicking the button. You know, so I mean that is you know, like the next level of what we talk about with gaming and everything. But I do have a final takeaway. And this takeaway, and I want to say, is when Black women design games, they design new worlds. And I want to thank you guys all for tuning in to the Futures Black podcast. My name is Nasir Gifted, and this is
JoJo Abanavi Wright.
And this is the Futures Black podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. Peace.